On behalf of the Athens Institute for Education and Research, Atiner for short, I'd like to welcome you to the second annual International Conference on Humanities and Arts in a Global World. My name is George Poulos, and I'm Vice President of Research. Just a few words about the Institute. Atiner was established in 1995, and its mission has been to act as a forum where academics and researchers from all over the world can come together to this historic cradle of democracy, Athens, in order to exchange ideas on their research, to interact with each other, and to discuss future developments in their discipline. The basic activities of Atiner include the organizing and hosting of international conferences and symposiums, such as this one, the carrying out of research, and the production of various publications. And since 1995, Atiner has organized more than 300 international conferences and other events, and has published close to 200 books. Atiner has also organized numerous roundtable discussions and public speeches on topical issues. The Institute is also currently involved in an ambitious project regarding the proposed establishment of an academic village. The aim is to establish a community of research scholars and academics, and the proposed village will include a conference center, living facilities, as well as facilities for research and recreation. And you'll find more information on this in the green paper in your file. Now, turning to today's formal activities, you should each have a program by now. Please note, and this is important, that each presentation is limited to 15 minutes. The chairperson will keep time and will use 3 and 1 minute reminder cards. I'd also like to ask the chairs to adhere strictly to the time constraints. Please allow for questions and discussion after all the papers have been presented and not after each paper. The chairpersons must also fill out the report forms that they will be receiving. This is important because the final program will be based on the chairperson's reports. Should you need to make use of technical facilities in your presentation, please confirm that everything is in order before the session begins. There will be someone from the admin staff to help you in this regard. Olga is here with me now, and Costa at the back as well. And there will be also a coffee break between sessions as well. Then you can continue with your discussions there if you don't manage to finish the discussions during the session. Right, you should also consult the social program, which is red in color in your file. The Greek night tonight is to be recommended, of course. Apart from Greek cuisine, there'll be lots of Greek music and dancing, especially now at the beginning of the year. And of course, you can even join in with the dancing if you like. There's also the urban walk tomorrow, and then follows the cruise to selected islands and the visit to the ancient sites of Epidavros and Massimo. A few words on the issue of publications. The Institute is involved with various publications. Firstly, there are the abstracts which are published. I know that some institutes do not recognize abstract publications as true publications, and yet there are other institutes which do require abstract publications, and for this reason we actually do have a book of abstract publications published after the conference. Secondly, the papers that are presented are placed on the web as part of an online paper series, once the editing of the papers has been attended to. These will have their own ISSN number and of course can be cited. The purpose of this publication series is to firstly disseminate the information in your paper as quickly as possible, and secondly to allow for feedback in case you wish to make amendments before submitting your paper for publication in a book. And with regard to book publications, you'll receive an email soon after the conference asking you for a final draft for publication consideration and any other information that that may be relevant. All papers that are submitted will go through a referee process before they'll be considered for publication in a book. And finally, colleagues, Atiner now also has its own journal series, which includes papers which are considered to be outstanding in content. And of course, they go through a very strict referee process, and they're peer-reviewed, of course, by an editorial board. On the issue of collaboration, We at Atiner would also like to collaborate with other institutions. Academics, researchers and institutes are invited to collaborate with our institute on research and education projects. If you're not yet a member of the institute, we'd like you to join and assist with the reviewing and editing of the papers. Part of our vision is to also organize a fellowship program, and we are now in the process of discussing this. Finally, colleagues, as is clear from the program, you've come from so many different countries, and we at Atiner sincerely hope that you'll make the most of this opportunity to interact with each other, that you'll enjoy this conference, that you'll go back home with fond memories, and most of all, that you'll want to come back to future conferences here at Atiner. Thank you very much for the conference. I'm going to ask our President, Dr. Gregory Papanikos, to say a few words and will be followed by Dr. David. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. Good morning, Happy New Year. In this part of the world, we change years on the 1st of January. I think in ancient times it was 1st of September. I think so. It's the academic year, actually. In my mind, only September is the new year. We call it new academic year.
Yeah.
And I'd like to welcome you to this second annual International Conference on Arts and Humanities. I don't have much to say, but just I want to highlight and emphasize what Professor Poulos said. And I'll start with our association, actually. We're an association of academics and researchers from all over the world. We're not a Greek association. We're an association, world association, that is based in Athens. That's why we don't have Greeks around here, apart from myself and some other people that they have long history, background outside Greece. So this is an idea, because some people think that we're a Greek, it's not bad to be a Greek institute or a Greek association, but we are not. It's like the United Nations in New York, okay? So something like that. So we're an association of academics and researchers, and what we are trying to do actually is what Thukydides said some 1,000 years ago, put it in the mouth of Pericles actually, to make this place a city, a place where people can come from all over the world, open to learning, seeing, and of course exchange ideas and see what are the future developments of our discipline. So the conferences per se is a medium. It's not an end by itself. We don't really care about conferences, but we have to find a way to bring people together, academics together. And I'm saying that because a lot of people make the mistake to compare us with the American Conference on Arts, where 2,000 people participate. We don't like that. We like small groups of people. Actually, it's on our side, our policy, but some people, of course, including myself, do not read this policy because they are long. But what we're trying to do is to bring people from different countries. As an example, in this room, we'll have 40 presentations coming from 23 different countries. And their names and their countries are in the program. So one of the criteria of accepting you is coming from a different country. Because actually the 15 minutes presentation that you come here and you think you're going to impress the world, because the world, we don't really care. What we care is to stay outside and exchange ideas. We give you these 15 minutes because you paid the fee and you want the refund from the university. And this is the reason, actually. But if you think that with 15 minutes you will impress the world, I think you're in the wrong room. But of course, we like good presentations, and especially when they come from young people. And here comes the contradiction. The young people, PhD lecturers, assistant professors, should make a footnote here, that one of the criteria of accepting is to have a good balance of rankings. So we love PhD students, we love lecturers, assistant professors, and all this. So this is very important. The mistake that the youth is doing in this room is they come, they present, and they leave. We hate them. Apart from that, we videotape it. So we send it back to your university and say, you think that he or she participated in the conference. Try to find her or him, and if you find, write us a letter. So we are spying on you. So don't leave and say to the university you participate. And this is the reason why the certificate of participation is given at the end. What kind of participation is that if you don't have a certificate in the morning and then you leave? You don't understand there are some other reasons that we have jobs and application. But we do like you to stay around, in other words. We have made, I think the venue is conducive to that, especially outside and not so much inside. And so you meet new people and exchange ideas. Now, about, you're not going to believe it, but we implement and we follow our rules and policies. It's so non-Greek. We start on time, and most probably we'll finish earlier. We beef up a little bit the early sessions, so we have the time to reschedule if something happens. But because we cannot reschedule the Tuesday paper presentation, sorry, the Sunday paper presentation on Saturday, it's too late for that. That's why we put more papers on the first day and less paper for the second, so if someone is missing the first day, still can have a room for them to present in the second day. So this is very important as well. Now, let me tell you something about the chairs. There are two styles of chairing. The European, that the chairs talk, or the continental European, that the chairs talk more than the presenters. So we don't like that type of chair. The chairs here is the North American usual style, that they are timekeepers. So if you have this internal tendency to ask questions when you are chairing and comment on the papers, please urgently ask us to change it. Because we cannot change your internal tendency to talk, but we can change you as a chair. Please follow the rules, and especially Olga is standing here because she is the boss. She checks me right now about the time, and will give me the sign because I talk too much. I have so many things to read actually. So it is important that you follow her dictations. She is a benevolent dictator. So if she tells you that you are wrong, please accept her verdict and try to chair a session by keeping time. Professor Poulos will give you an excellent example how to chair a session, and then David Wick, I think you are chairing the next session, so he will give you another excellent example. So learning by example, I think, it's the best way to do it. The reason that we are doing that, if you allow some people to talk more than the 15 minutes, everybody will ask for more time, and this afternoon session will take place tomorrow. I mean, we have a very long experience in organizing conferences, these small events, and this is very important what I'm telling about chair, and don't give hard time, because we have chaired so many American conferences to the people that are here, to the researchers and the administrators. They are working for money, okay? And this is very important to respect them, and they know their rules and their policies. Now, we are doing a very good job in organizing conferences. 95% of the people like what we're doing. But there are 5% they complain. You're not going to believe it because we have evidence from more than 20,000 people that have attended our conferences from 100 different countries. The usual complaints, they come from the United States. I'm saying that because usually academics from the United States, they complain. Because they have a perception and experience how things should be done. And because it is true that they do efficient and effective whatever they organize, but this is different. And I try to explain them, wait until the end of the conference to start complaining. And don't start complaining by the time that we arrive at the Greek airport. It's important if you want to enjoy it. It's important if you want to enjoy it. Stay silent until the end of the conference if you really want to help us, and then comment. You can say this is the worst conference that I ever attended. That means that you might be young, so your future is in front of you and you will attend even more. But you can still help us by sending some comments. Most probably we're not going to take them into serious consideration because we haven't done pest and SWOT analysis of what we're doing here. So we have to do, those that are in business, they have to do a pest and SWOT analysis. So when you propose something, don't propose it outside the conference. We're doing a very good job. in organizing conference, not a very good, not a perfect one, not an excellent. We're not doing a very good job in publishing, and we do need your help there. There are many reasons why we don't do a good job, and we try to improve them. We're improving, they're not perfection. So please, if you are good in editing, you can help, because when people come from different countries, they don't speak the perfect accent English that I have. So they have a different accent, and I mean, it's their problem, I know. And or George Poulos, South African accent. Some people, believe it or not, they were not born to speak English. They had a different language. Their mother tongue or father tongue was different. So, and for those that they speak English as a second language, when they come here, I just tell them, if someone intimidates you by asking a question in Oxford English or American English, it's his problem if you don't understand. It's not your problem. Ask him to repeat the question, and if you still don't understand, say, during the break, we can discuss it and explain. So don't be intimidated because you don't speak very good English. Of course, English is a language. We have to find a language to communicate. Ancient Greek was another option, and it's a very beautiful language. Unfortunately, very few people. But come back to the publication, because I ran out of time. Yes, I ran out of time. Now, the publication is a very important thing for us. So if you can help us, even with English anything, that's what I meant the footnote. Because there are some people, they have a very good paper. We had Georgios Pasadeos in mass communication. He's Greek, but he speaks, and he was professor in Turkey, speaks very well Turkish. Actually, he went to the Turkish school in Istanbul, and then the United States became a dean of our university. Because he knew Turkish, he could correct the Turkish papers. And if someone English speaking read the paper, say, this is garbage, not good. But because he knew what they were saying, he was correcting it. He was doing an editing job, an English editing. And some papers that they are good, they lose a lot because it's written in bad English. So please, if you can help us with this, we need that, without money, of course, because we don't have money to give it to you, but we can give you a big certificate that hopefully, very big, depends how long it is. And of course, we can put you on our side that you help us. Olga can give you more information. Now, and something else that is important, and I'll stop. This here, we're trying to do, one of the criticisms, as I said, we're trying to improve. One of the criticisms says that this is a garbage association. You send a paper, and then they accept it without themes, even though we write that it's not thematic. When I'm drunk, I'll tell you this thematic, non-thematic issue. But this is not important if you allow some people to come and propose a theme. So we have now, if you're a good professor, good means that you know another 4 people that know your work. That's what the definition of a good professor. Not only they know your work, but they committed to commit suicide for propagation of your ideas. So this is very important. And you can bring them to Athens to organize a panel as part of this conference. Then we'll annotate and we'll put you on our conference website that you are one of the organizers of this panel, of this session. So all you need to know is 4 people that know your work. And of course, within this general non-thematic conference, we can have oases of enclaves, if you want, of small sessions that are very homogeneous. The more, the better. And we can have a different room. We have this year, we started that this year, 2014. And now for the 2015, we have these panels and sessions. You can see it if you go to our conference website, general for 2015. You can see all these small panels with your name, like Professor X and Y want to organize this panel as part of this conference. So you are more than welcome, either for this conference next year. If you have the credential, we'll give you a list how we approve that. And of course, for any other conference that we will organize in the next year to make suggestions. Now, let me see if I forgot something, because I have written here. This is the most important piece of information. Now, forget about the program, we'll change, we'll upload it. Of course, if you don't present, by the way, you will disappear from the program. similarly, if you don't pay the fee, if you owe us money, you will disappear from the program. Okay, so make it sure, don't complain after. Okay, we say that, but nobody reads. This is very important because all our events start on time. These are contractual agreement with you. And because the English is a problem, and if you ask David Wick, me, or George Poulos about what time the Greek night starts tonight, because of, first of all, as academics, we're a source of misinformation. Second, the English language barrier. And you may understand that it's 10 o'clock while it is 8 o'clock. So everything should be in writing. And of course, most important, don't ask for a refund using oral information. Ask in writing if there is any change. And most important, don't ask me, don't ask David Wick, don't ask George Poulos. Ask only the administration about administration things. You can ask me about current world affairs. I have a lot to say. But don't ask me about the Greek night food. Okay? This is very important because I don't want to be a misunderstanding. Is there any suggestions, questions? Nothing. Thank you very much. David Wick has the floor for 5 minutes, and I wish you all the best.
I'd like to welcome you too. I'm an American academic, although I'm the Arts and Humanities Director at Atiner, and I'm not here to complain, just to say welcome. One of the lucky things of my life is that I'm an urban historian, and the cityscape that I do my research on is older layers of this town, not the classical Athens, but the Roman one. The Athenian culture has been a conversational one all through its history, and an international one in all of the layers of Athenian history that have really mattered. I think Pericles began that, but Athenians were a bit more international than the Greeks barbarians thing that we have as a stereotype even before that. And so I just want to add a couple of things, and I even want to just very slightly contradict Dr. Papanikos on maybe one little point or two. He loves to tell me why I'm wrong, and this makes him happy. Because we are about conversation, I will contradict him and say, feel free to wow the world with your paper. Feel free to do that. But I do want to remind the chairs it's important to stay to time because we are about conversation. We typically have 5 papers in a session. When you see 4 papers in a session, especially the first part of today, it's because there are 2 team presenters on that paper. So one of the important things about staying to time is that 10 to 15 minutes of questions at the end. We want to be about conversation. So one thing, one other little tiny area in which I'm going to contradict Dr. Papanikos, while the chairs are not meant to do a lot of talking, along with keeping time, one thing it's helpful, and you decide if you're chairing a session how comfortable you are doing this. It's helpful to try and see if each of the presenters can get a question in that conversational session at the end before a very natural conversation tends to coalesce around one of the last papers or one that particularly interested people. Let's try and include as many people in each of the sessions in the conversation as we can if you were sharing something. I'm going to stick to some very, very small suggestions like that. I'm very much looking forward to this second conference on the humanities. And I also want to leave you a moment to walk out and get something to drink or do what you want before we start here in just a moment. And I also don't want to run over because, well, there are people that you just don't disobey. I can contradict Dr. Papanikos, but I know who not to contradict. Anyway, welcome to you all, and I will be starting in just a moment or two.
Thank you. Right, we have a few minutes. Just want to make quite sure that all 5 presenters for this first session have contacted Olga and they've brought in the PowerPoints to the front.